hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It begins as of shortly. So, much has transpired recently, hasn't it, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to go through some of it. So, let's set everything up briefly. It takes a moment to set everything up, so give me a second. It's been an interesting week so far, hasn't it? A very tumultuous one, where on the one hand we have the media wanting a shoot-up at the Second Amendment rally in Virginia, and then being salty when it doesn't happen, similar to the Joker screening. Oh, what fun befalls us all when the salty tears rain down, and when it rains, it pours. So I'm going to pour myself some wine, and then I am going to roll myself a smoke, and then we will all bask in the glory of the leftist tear showers. So, without further ado, I'm going to take a moment to do those things.
How's my sound? How's my sound?
Is perfectly fine, sir.
You know, when I listen to it back, I can never figure out whether it's better with a microphone or just like it is now. Should I plug my little Apple headphones in, or is this okay?
Products, sir,
I knew you was going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
And why wouldn't I? You should be deeply ashamed of yourself. How dare you fund Apple, sir?
The most horrific thing, before we even get into the topic, is how great Apple would have been if it just, you know, got on with its technology, as opposed to, it's the same as everything, whether it's a singer or it's a maker of, you know, some type of produce. As soon as they enter the political field, they ruin it for us.
Do
you know how many actors,
go broke.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long for it to happen.
Yeah.
It must happen expediently. When people realize that they're selling intersectional garbage, right?
Let's take, for an example, Robert De Niro. I've used this example before. Everyone loved De Niro. He was one of the best, or what people thought the best mobster actors ever. And now people virtually cringe when they see him. If he'd have just kept his mouth shut, but he's not allowed to keep his mouth shut.
Those who have the most skeletons in their closets scream loudest. Especially when it comes to Hollywood, it's filled with child fuckers.
It's filled with people that prefer children, Alex. Let's use that language.
Anyway, so, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring you the first story of the day that I made a video on earlier.
Callus has made I think we should really coin that. Nonce flicks. I'm going with that. Hello, Political Dissent. Welcome, sir. I take it you're a sir. 1 moment, Al, while I share this in a couple more places. You carry on. I'm just going to put in a couple of Discords. All right.
I'm trying to mute myself here, sir. Priorities.
Okay, hang on. Where am I getting the link from? I'll get it from Telegram.
Stick around. We'll get into the nitty-gritties of the affairs soon enough. We're just giving it a round of shares such that the algorithm doesn't do us up the bum. No.
That's the official term. That's the political term.
Yes, this is no exaggeration.
It's round robin shafting, it's known as.
I'm certain that you're an expert on the matter, sir.
Well,
You
you know,
speak from a point of expertise, not one of an amateur, yes?
absolutely. I'm here to give out advice. I remember once I was on a building site in Bethnal Green, and this young Asian kid comes up to me, and he was asking me some really strange questions, and I thought, is this guy going to pull out a knife or something? He was being really strange. And I said, mate, what is it you want? And he's gone, you're meant to be meeting me outside the site, aren't you? I said, listen, mate, if you're selling gear, get out of here, because this site is really well surveillanced. You need to go. You'll get caught. And he went, no. Bear in mind, this kid must have been about 14, 15, yeah? He's gone to me.
I hear you.
He's gone, no, happy ending. So I was stood over the road with a few blokes just having a fat. Because there was no smoking section on the site. So everyone, whether you was a tiler or whatever, you had to go over the other side of the road. And this guy was going up and down to people. A happy ending. Right? And you must... I couldn't tell if it was...
You've got to earn a living somehow.
Well, no child is doing that on their own free will, or young man. Someone's forcing them to do that.
It was a young man, was it, sir?
I couldn't tell if he was 15 or 18. He just looked so weak and underdeveloped as a person. And, you know, we're going back about one of sort of disgust. I told him to F off. I said, what, you know, and me and a bunch of blokes sort of scared him away from the business. Not physically, we just said, go on, F off, you know, what you doing around here? But how silly we were, because as soon as he walked away, it occurred to me that he's the victim.
Yeah, I hear you.
There's an adult who's going to victimize him. And what we should have done was grabbed him and said, listen, who's making you do this? That's what we should have done. Shouted at him and sent him away, because God knows if that guy's even alive now, that young man. That was F off, and the guys with me was F off. But in hindsight, many nights I've slept there and thought, no, I should have said to him, who sent you here? It plagued me, that one. Always plagued me. A Gomad, Fana, or Fana, however you'd like me to pronounce it. Why does Alex sound like he's in a tunnel? Because he's full of wind. That's why. He's just full of accumulated hot air, and it lets out in tunnel fashion. I suppose I better share it on Instagram, hadn't I?
Indeed, sir. Well, I share it a few times on Telegram, but we'll get into the nitty-gritty very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned.
Let's tell you what, I cannot wait to have a good rant about a couple of things that have been coming up, irrelevant of the usual stuff we archive, like street crime and etc., yada yada. You know, the thing about today's news is you're never bored. You're never short of something to complain about, but everything that we're complaining about is a detriment to our society, you know, is tearing our society apart. We laugh about it, but it's not actually funny. It's really not funny. So Apple now, they're so pissed off by people daring to use an app that they can't manipulate, that they're just cancelling the app, basically, off of people's phones. And people have archived a lot of things on Telegram. A lot of people have archived a lot of things, and now they're being cut short. So I suggest any of you on Apple immediately go out and buy some sort of device which can save what's important to you, and you start archiving it. Because Apple, put it this way, if the police can't find you, they ring Apple. Okay? Apple are part of the problem. As you know, any tech company, any global institutionalized company is getting permission from far left authorities. You don't get that large today unless you either hide your agenda or you're openly left. So anyone who's a multi-trillionaire, who's a righty, they won't admit it. We can't ask them for help. But if you're a lefty, you can say what you like, and that's what we see. So whether you're the people that fund or run CNN, or whether you are David Rothschild himself, you're allowed to come out and say something incredibly far left and disgusting, because you don't have to answer to anyone. There's no moral practice. There's no courtroom of morality judging you if you own Coca-Cola or if you own Rothschild's banking. She says, who stands with Lauren Fox? Equal Dissent says, if you own an iPhone, throw it in the bin and get a proper one. Look, I'm sure lots of people love iPhone. I don't like iPhone. We can have the battle of Androids all you like, but I'm not going to pop at Apple for its technology. This is bigger than that. This is their company deciding to censor what you can and cannot see and take part in. So on Facebook and Instagram, etc., you know you're limited. So you know that they are basically telling you what you can and cannot take part in. So when you have an app where they cannot censor it, so they ban that completely, it's because they expect, they have this sense of entitlement that they control what you are allowed to say and do. The Western society.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the solution to Apple censoring everyone because they've lost control of the narrative. What is the solution? What can you do? Join all of the archives of REDPILL bunkers that we have in the description of this here video. We are top-notch archivists at the Reality Report, and we take the utmost pride in it. Earlier today, Resisting Hate were complaining on Roanna's Twitter that, far-right channels, and then they give us some free advert. Thank you, Roanna, for the free advertising. We are so grateful for that. In fact, because you went ahead and did that, I took the executive decision to go and promote it further, since, I mean, you're promoting it freely for us. How can I not do so in the face of this? Anyway, if you want to slap Resisting Hate in the face with your penis, join all of the archives.
Whoa, Nelly! Whoa, Nelly!
Metaphorically, of course. Like,
metaphorically, Nelly. What?
Come now, we can't get done for this. They'd probably like it. We're homosexual friendly here. Come on. Okay, so the point of the matter is that if you want to piss off Tim Cook of Apple, if you want to piss off Resisting Hate, right? If you want to piss off the far left, soy-ridden filth, those that scream and screech to the uncaring skies each day, if you want to piss them off, come join the archives that are presented in the description of this here video. It will piss them off, and you will be better informed by the end of it. Guaranteed. Exposing Cultural Marxism, t.me/exposing cultural Marxism, is a very, very well curated archive of exposing cultural Marxism.
Whenever anyone says he's the only one that runs it, right? He runs it. So bear in mind, he's blowing his own trumpet to that of the Paris Orchestra.
I mean, I'm not inaccurate. Nothing that I have said is inaccurate thus far, you know.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Also, the movement that you see on the screen before you presently is but a single, the tip of the iceberg concerning the meme archives that we have in our possession. You know, Hillary Clinton rocking back and forth in a straitjacket in a padded room. Fun times.
Absolutely. So, if you do have an Apple phone, the thing is, you might love Apple. What I'd suggest is at least getting Telegram on a on a PC. But if you're one of them people that your house is full of Apple, I can't really help you. You need help outside of what I can provide you. If you're an Apple person, sort yourself out. If that's going to cause you to hate me, I'm sorry. But you see that person rocking in the chair in the screen? He's definitely an Apple user. Definitely. I mean, it is lefty fad to have an Apple phone. And I don't miss it, you know. I really don't. I had one ages ago, and I dropped it. Bang. That was it. Do not pass go. It was out. This Android, right, has been through the wars. And, you know, I don't want to tempt fate because everyone smashes an Android. I know that they're also fragile, but Apples take the mick. They really do. It's good to piss off Apple. They hate us on the right. Yeah, it's not just right. All of the things that we're allowed to use hate us. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the actual phones that we're allowed to use. So even Samsung, right? Don't get it wrong. If they were cornered and had to give a political statement, they'd say something we didn't like against the right. Anyone who's massive has to comply to certain things, otherwise, they'll get so slandered. You won't see them in Argos catalogues and what have you. You'll see them getting slandered.
Some next level thought policing happening on the legacy media platforms, ladies and gentlemen, and they wouldn't have to do such if they weren't losing the narrative so incredibly hard. Do keep up the good work, everyone who is a thought leader of the centre-right. We depend on the ability of getting information out to the public. For example, presently, read what's on the screen, Binsand.
Hang on, 1 sec. Let me go back to the screen.
Because of how quickly the news cycles happen, the frequency of them, and how quickly they pass, people forget about what happened yesterday. Certain things need to be reminded every so often.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, well, look, Project Veritas, Simon Sideways just did a brilliant cover on it, and much to his credit, he actually tagged us in because that's where he first saw it. But we'll talk about Project Veritas after this, because Alex and I both found this separately and both put out a status, because this to us individually, we hadn't spoken, and as soon as I pressed enter to post this, I noticed Alex had done it within the same millisecond as me. Our write-ups, it was weird. Right, now, basically what you're looking at here on screen is this straight up admission of the deep state. This is someone who's been told to hide the agenda, getting so angry at looking at his smartphone that he's given us a straight up win.
This is literally calling.
What you're looking at there is basically the admission that the people that call you conspiracy theorists are wrong. So this is David Rothschild. Need I explain who he is? The white men, in brackets, and they are all white men, comma, because non-white men would be safe in this crowd, end bracket, are explicitly terrorizing us to demonstrate to lawmakers they will cause more, in caps, terror.
Hold on, you got if it wrong. White men would not be safe in this crowd.
I'm not done reading it. What did I say? Did I not read the not bit?
Would be safe in this crowd. He says white men at the Virginia Second Amendment rally would not be safe in this crowd, saying indirectly that white men should not be safe at a Second Amendment rally.
Let me restart it then, Al, just so there's no confusion. The white men, in brackets, and they are all white men because non-white men would not be safe in this crowd, in brackets, are explicitly terrorizing us to demonstrate to lawmakers they will cause more terror if they pass gun safety measures the voters wanted and voted them into office to pass. So obviously the statement here is that all these white men using the Second Amendment to their advantage, it's absolute dribble. There was lots of black people there with their guns. It's complete and utter farce of the truth. But the point, the overall point is you're seeing cultural Marxist leaders, thought leaders, cult leaders admitting it. I'm just going for a wee, Al, back in a sec.
Getting salty over it and seething. The guy, Mr. David Rothschild, is seethe-coping. Let's continue with what he says. This is what, in caps, terrorists do. They use threats of violence to scare the majority of United States to adhere to the desires of a minority. Do you sincerely, David Rothschild, believe that it is a minority in America that will stand for the Second Amendment? Big surprise. Carrying on, the armed white men, like, the guy has a fascination with anti-white bigotry, it appears, will scream something about the sacredness of the Second Amendment, but they are not here to protect the United States from authoritarian regimes. Let's get rid of Trump because he's actively promoting American nationalism and bringing back Americana. These armed men did not rush to the border to protect the children. Emotional blackmail and follow it up, of course. After anti-white bigotry, you have to, of course, ladies and gentlemen, follow it up with emotional blackmail and psychological terrorism. Let's continue reading. These armed men did not rush to the border to protect the poor children that are being trafficked across the border by Soros. while punching out or thinking that he's punching upward, he screams out in pain. Of course, tossed into cages or under Obama primarily, or the airports to help families separated, or to DC to protest Trump's corruption or foreign collaborations against the United States. They use Second Amendment, their guns, yada yada. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is an open admission of anti-white bigotry, anti-constitutionalism in America, actively trying to promote race riots by saying that white men should not be safe in the crowd. This is what thought leaders of the left are coming out with. Eye-opening, isn't it? We're in a cold shadow war, and these fuckers want to intensify it and have it heat up. Bastards. A YouTuber came out with the statement that this here era will be known as the era of treason. And boy oh boy, is there a lot of archived evidence to demonstrate such. So, absolute drivel from the left, as tradition dictates. No matter the amount of effort that they put into it, you see, what they have is a lot of money, and we have fiery souls and testicular fortitude to oppose their narratives.
Hello.
Yes, I am. I was speaking without speaking on Discord, but the people can hear me nonetheless. Right.
Hang on, let's read a couple of these interesting comments before you carry on. I just want to read, because Kenny Evans looks like he's putting in some effort here. Charles Martel has asked a very valid question. Are we recording this off of a potato? Well, I can't say that we're not. I have two Irish names, so there's a huge chance that whatever technology I use will represent a potato. Kenny Evans, cultural Marxists' main weapon is demoralization. For demoralized people are a weak people, and a weak people are more likely to capitulate without a fight. Thank you, Kenny. Very well put. The tree of liberty needs less ebb and more flow. Just saying. And that's from Political Dissent. Once again, we're seeing some brilliant comments. I like intelligence. I like wit.
Thomas
I like
Jefferson, the tree needs watering.
I like to see people assert themselves and actually sort of make little statements that they can, save and go forward with. I like that,
I came across a beautiful article just a moment ago. Let's have a look at this. Hold on. Right. So people are dipping their testicles in soy sauce. So here's some. This is not even false. Okay.
Sorry, what?
So
look, there was that Belle Delphine said in bathwater. At this point, I'm ready to believe anything.
Listen,
go on now.
When we talk about an agenda to effeminize men, okay, when I speak about an agenda to effeminize men overall, I could not have hoped for a better point of information than this here article that is on the screen. Binzand, please read it for the audience. And we will remark thereupon shortly, but it's bad.
Wait, hang on, I've got to catch up on the screen. Hang on, wait, and I'll read this. Why do you always make me read the stuff that people in a sound clip that makes me sound like I'm gay, right? Right, okay, I've got
a proficiency in this area, sir. So it is obvious that we pick you as an expert. The people don't want to know the opinions of non-experts like me when it comes to dipping testicles in soy sauce. So we choose you, Sir Binzand. You, who are an expert on this affair, to read this out. Go ahead, sir.
We actually got a picture of, is that the picture of the soy in question that they're putting their balls in?
Yes, sir.
Well, he must have some droopy balls because he's not put a lot of soy in that. It looks like a tall cup. Unless he's absorbed all of the previous soy that was in there, and they're currently all soaked upon the outer shell of his balls. Do you think that they then shave their pubic hair off to absorb the most amount of moisture as possible, so it looks like an elderly person's head that's got out of a swimming pool when someone's been in the bath too long? Well, I have to really squint now. Is there any way you can maximize that slightly? I can't read that.
Why, yes, let's see if this is doable.
Yeah, you'll need to maximize that a little bit. I can't make the writing out. How far behind am I? Oh, that's why I'm ages behind. It scares me when you're seeing Alex's computer.
Right. It should be updated within 10 seconds. Avanata.
Maximize it for me.
It is maximized as much as it can be. Wait for it.
People are dipping their testicles in soy sauce. So here's some science. I love this title already. Headline, that's perfect, Al. That's perfect. You didn't misread that headline. People have been putting soy sauce on their testicles to see whether their nether parts can detect the salty condiment. This sounds like something you're saying as a cuss. This sounds like something you and me say to annoy lefties. This article just looks like an argument between us and the left talking about how they dip their balls in soy. Right? And recording their reactions for the benefit of social media. Oh my good God.
Virtue signaling fuckwittery. The cult of virtue signaling has come this far. How far will it go?
Oh, have any idea how hard it is for me, right? I come from a real working class background to not say certain slurs which are deemed really offensive. How did we get here in the year of our Lord 2020, you ponder? In short, the internet has been playing telephone with some actual science originally pushed in PNAS PLAS in 2013, when Bedrick Mossinger and colleagues from the Monel Chemical Senses Center in Philadelphia published a mouse study on taste receptor involvement in male fertility. Oh my fucking God. They probably didn't expect it to launch a TikTok trend 7 years later. Look, no, they didn't. No one in their right mind, when testing, masculinity within animals, imagines that human beings are going to be. I can't summarize this in the fashion I want to without facing a hate crime. That's the problem. I can't summarize this how I want right now. Alex, get this story out of my face. Get this story out of my face.
Does it, the subject experiences distress?
Grown men crouching over cups full of soy in order to soak their balls in soy is the sort of thing that we joke about. I'm running out of jokes, Alex. They're not leaving us with much left to attack. If you're willing to walk about in a thong and get prosecuted for bestiality, how can we embarrass you? You're going to pose after being prosecuted for things like bestiality, and come back out after you've been exposed as a pro-paedophile advocate. How do you embarrass these people? They get off on being embarrassed. That's the problem with true sick deviants. Half of their kick is to be undermined. And if you do it publicly, it just gets them off. To you and I, who are normal people, the idea of being associated with certain things are horrific. To them, it's just it's what they're driving towards. It's what they dream of.
Meanwhile, in Macron's paradise, France, French intellectuals sentenced to 2 months in prison for calling mass immigration a, quote, invasion, forced to pay €1,800 to anti-racism organisation for his crime of an opinion. This is from Summit News of Paul Joseph Watson. French intellectual Renaud Camus has been given a 2-month suspended prison sentence for saying that mass immigration into Europe represents a, quote, invasion. Camus will only avoid jail by paying €1,800 to 2, quote, anti-racist organisations, SOS Races Me and the LICRA, in brackets International League Against Racism and Anti-Semitism. The writer, who is the author of Le Grand Remplacement, in brackets the Grand Replacement, was charged with, quote, public incitement to hate or violence on the basis of origin, ethnicity, nationality, race or religion. So United Nations terminology here. The conviction stems from a November 2017 speech in Colombe, Le Dole, Église, to the National Council of European Resistance, in which Camus declared, quote, immigration has become an invasion. The irreversible colonization is demographic colonization by the replacement of the population, said the author, adding, quote, the ethnic substitution, the Great Replacement, is the most important event in the history of our nation since it has existed. As with other people, if the story continues, it will not be that of France. Camus also called for a, quote, national consensus of resistance to oppose Islamization in, quote, the struggle for the salvation of our common civilization, Celtic, Slavic, Germanic, Greek, Latin, Judeo-Christian. The part of Camus' speech that specifically garnered the attention of judges was when he talked about European people being replaced. Camus said mass immigration, quote, is the substitution, the tendency to substitute everything with its emulator, normalized, standardized, interchangeable, the original with its copy, the authentic with its imitation, the true with the false, the mothers with surrogate mothers, the culture with free time and entertainment. France suffers Islamic terror attacks on such a routine basis that it's barely even an important news story anymore. Many of those terrorists are radicalized by mosques that escape any police scrutiny, but Camus must be punished for his crime of opinion. And there you have it, free speech is now a crime in France. Literally. Some terrible shit, ladies and gentlemen. Britain may be in quite the state, but we can all take a degree of consolation, courage, confidence, and conviction that at least the wheel has begun to turn rightwards and the pendulum swings rightwards in Britain compared to France, Sweden, and Germany, where it's really, really bad.
Alex, before it's forgotten, an interesting point was just brought up in the chat by a fair maiden. I need to read it. TikTok is also being hailed for encouraging 12-year-olds to go and get sexually transmitted disease checks without permission or knowledge of the parents. And TikTok is, as far as social media goes, it is a cancer. It's just one of those things that promotes people to just take part in, the whole drill and rap industry. Everything's about sex, everything's about demoralizing and degenerating women, and TikTok is just basically the promotion of that. I sound like a fuddy-duddy, but how far things have gone, I don't think I'm being unreasonable at all.
It's really quite the era we're living in, sir. Born
shocking. 10 years ago, you wouldn't believe a word. You would not, but if you'd said this to me, I'd say that guy there, stay away from him. He is an absolute lunatic. He's talking about there'll be transgenders reading to kids in schools. He said there'll be thousands of people on the street in balaclavas promoting communism. The guy's a nutter. I'd be going, you're telling me that the police will come and arrest you for saying that you want evidence for something? Shut up, mate. That would have been my reaction 10 years ago, and I would have thought, this guy lives in a fantasy world. 5 years ago. 5 years ago. we all knew there was issues, but no one would have thought it would have accelerated at such a rate. What with Brexit and the Trump vote, we saw cultural Marxism accelerate. What would have took a decade, they accelerated 12 months at a time. So the last 3 years has just been a pure virus, which is intensified week in, week out, to the point where people aren't shocked anymore. Parents are arrested for not allowing their kids to transition. 9-year-olds are stripping in front of men and being put on billboards in New York. These are things that you couldn't have imagined, a few years ago? Now you've got Desmond is Amazing getting millions and millions of hits, and we're shadow banned into oblivion for daring to ask for evidence. Then people call us conspiracy theorists. And then what they do is they arm us forever with more and more critical argumentation against their points, but push us further into the shadows until one day they have to answer to us when we appear on LBC, when we appear in their faces, and we are armed to the teeth with decades of them lying to us. So yes, it's demoralizing. Yes, it gets on your wick. But every lie they say, they think they're getting away with it. But it's an archive that builds up in your memory bank. Not just yours, but the generation that comes after you that remembers what just happened.
The problem is that when the far leftism is so incredibly far gone, it's very, very difficult to counter those who are getting fanaticized on the very far right. It becomes more difficult to deal with those who are getting very hardcore fanaticized on the very far right, because the far left is so incredibly fanaticized themselves, and the very far right a little more in modern history than a reaction to what the far left is pushing.
I mean, it's inevitable. It is inevitable when you are told without fail that you have no reason to exist, your ancestors mean nothing, your establishment needs to be dismantled, your currency itself needs to be got rid of. Everything
you have no culture. Don't forget that.
You have no culture. Your very pigment of your skin is your inherent fault and handicap. It is as if the government is doing everything in its power to create a far right regime. Doing everything in their power. And as we know, throughout our history in the movement, which is relatively short, a couple of years, we've seen person after person after person. I remember a guy, and we smelt a rat on him within about 15 minutes. This guy, I'm not going to repeat, what he said, but I'll hint because it could flag the channel. But he come to meet us one morning when we was waiting to go to Speaker's Corner, and funnily enough, when we was with him, we got surrounded by police at 8 o'clock in the morning. How they knew I was there, obviously they followed my phone and stuff, but whatever. Anyway, this guy, about a quarter of an hour after meeting us, tells me about a plan. He knows someone that could assassinate a public figure, and talking to me in detail about how to get into their office, right? I said to him, mate, what are you saying to me? Go away right now. He was meant to be out with us for the day. We was giving someone a chance. And within a few moments, and the rest of us has looked at each other as if to say, what the fuck? It turned out that guy did turn out to be a police grass. Bear in mind, I used to see him. He'd be helping with events. His name was John. Obviously, it's not his real name, but I forgot his second name now. Other people might remember this guy. What was his second name? Anyway, he turned out to be a real police informant, not just a grass. But time after time, and I remember seeing him after that and thinking, I now know what he is. But I saw him still getting his way into other influential sort of areas. And it just makes you wonder how many people really are there from the authorities. How many of them are... because there are very few people willing in this country to actually make a stand or say anything. So you got to make the assessment. At least a fifth of the people out there, or that's probably too high, an eighth of the people out there have been sent in, one way or another, whether it's the left or authorities. And people say to me, "Why are you worried about the authorities?" Look, If the authorities were to do the right thing, then always be supportive. But if you are hiding something when you know that our agendas are not evil, then you're not there for a good reason. Better catch someone out. That's the problem. That's the issue. It's not a case of why are you scared of police? It depends on what police you're dealing with and why they're there. That's the issue, and that's the truth.
An interesting state of affairs, ladies and gentlemen, but don't worry. You, if you want to be fully informed on what the most recent affairs are in the news, join the archive bunkers. It pisses off all of the leftists when you and your family and your loved ones are informed against their degenerative tendencies, ideologies, etc. Yes, let's briefly. Yes, let's play the audience the Project Veritas video in full, the Part 3 one. Let's briefly give them the text. So, Part 3, Expose 2020 of Project Veritas. Second Bernie Sanders staffer. Quote, I'll straight up get armed. Quote, guillotine the rich. Martin Weisgerber, South Carolina field organizer, Sanders campaign, quote, leave it to the Soviets to make the most badass fucking most effective gun in the world, AK-47, the destroyer of imperialism and colonization. That's why I want to get an AK-47.
Alex, stop, right, before you can carry on, at that point aside, because I know there's Americans that will be pulling their hair out in the chat, right? AK-47, I've never owned a gun, and I know enough to know it's crap, right? Obviously, if I was being shot at with an AK-47, I wouldn't be saying it's crap. But as far as other assault rifles go, yes, it's crap. Your mic is still low, apparently, Al.
Yeah, that's not going to change. People can turn up the volume. I've looked at the streams after the stream, and people can hear me, and I can hear myself as well.
Well, so, how about this? You never call anyone a boomer again.
Sure. Anyway, let's have 15 or so, 13 minutes and 25 seconds of silence while we watch the Project Veritas Episode 3 video. Let's have
just play the little one. That one that it's clipped it all. 1 minute 20 or wherever it is. You don't need to put people through nearly quarter of an hour of Veritas. They'll bugger off.
There is no clipped one immediately available, sir.
Yes, there is. Go to my Twitter, or go to, which one did I put it on? Reality Report Twitter, and I put a shorter one, which they cut it up. I could probably send you the video. Do you want me to send you the video in Telegram?
Yeah, do that.
Right, wait, it depends what device it's on. Bear with me, hang on. By your bloody name. Berg Lord. Hang on.
You know what I find funny in all of this? The blood in the water. Piranha is among us. He does his duties well, and if he continues doing them well and not nipping at our heels, he will go very far, I'm certain. There are certain factions that you can fuck with and you won't have any kind of retaliation or response, and there are others where woe unspeakable befall all who disturb my blissful daily leisures.
Glad you said your part, Alex. I'm glad you got that out of your system. Let me go to, I think I'm going to have to send it to you off this device. Hang on, wait there. Her name, because I thought I was clever. I changed my name on my main device
what your problem is, though, Binzend? You're just afraid of having to be carted off to a re-education camp under the Bernie Sanders communist imperium. That's what our problem is. We're all deeply terrified of the Bernie Sanders communist revolution, aren't we? Have you seen what the people promoting this revolutionary spirit of the 21st century actually look like, sir?
You know what, as well, I think he talks very bravely. He really does.
I mean, he thought that he was around personal comrades and so forth, but it's really quite alarming. Like, openly talking about gulagging and re-education camps for the rest of the population who don't agree with you. I mean, screw the First and Second Amendment, gulags and re-education camps. Let's bring that to America, shall we?
I'm now forwarding you a video. It's just going to take a minute from the looks of it. This is 2 minutes 19. It's the cut up for the best bits.
Right. Where are you sending it from?
It will come through to your Telegram inbox probably in about a minute or two. It's taking its time.
Right, you are.
So, like I said before, Simon Sideways did a good cover of this as well. If anyone wants to go check out his channel and see what he had to say about this. For those that don't know, Simon's an interesting guy. Offers his insights.
He did a very good rundown of it.
But he won't make it though. He's already being pushed out by the Democrats. Yeah, well, the thing is with Bernie is he was never going to make it because, you know, he's sort of like, he's a bit of a fruit bat, isn't he? He's a bit crazy. And, you know, I don't think he was ever a real risk anyway. I mean, me being a bit harsh, but I don't think he was much of a risk. I forgot to share it on Instagram. We got through Veritas, then we'll go straight to the Netflix issue, Alia.
Certainly.
And I have to keep repeating myself, ladies and gents. If you've not been paying attention to Veritas, go back, watch them. They're not long. You'll learn an awful lot very quickly. And when people come at you with silly arguments like you're a conspiracy theorist, you can highlight that Google themselves have been absolutely owned. That CNN themselves have been absolutely owned and being caught red-faced admitting the things that people deny. So Project Veritas are the most powerful, in my opinion, independent journalists of our time. They've dismembered the heads of the dragon in a way that we can only imagine. I never know what I've inboxed you, so don't put it on screen. Don't put our inbox on screen. Thank you.
There's not enough wine. Not enough wine and alcohol in my system to deal with the madness that we experience on a daily basis by the left. Let's have a gander at what's going on in the nightmare chaos realm briefly. Obviously not on the screen because there's a lot of spicy. Is a very spicy in the nightmare chaos realm. In the meantime,
Should be through to you in a couple of moments. It's in your inbox now, Al. Tell you what.
I'm putting it on for the viewers. For 2 minutes and 20 seconds of silence. Hold on.
Take it full screen?
Yeah, it is full screen.
You see like that, if you're ever checking the inbox and you're sending me stuff we need banned from groups.
Yeah, I hear you, motherfucker.
Yeah, but it comes up on the screen now, it gets the video striped. So what the fuck you doing?
You're sending it to me via direct message. Anyway,
So
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Screen.
Right, just a second. Let's watch this video that you sent. Yes? Hold on a second.
Right.
Let's have the audience pay very close attention to what you're about to see.
In a full screen it.
This is as full screen as it's going to get.
Guillotine the rich. I always said, you know, I'm a communist. I'm ready to start tearing bricks up and start fighting. I'm not. I'm no cop, bro. I'll straight up get armed. I want to learn how to shoot and go train. I'm ready for the revolution, bro. I'm telling you. Guillotine the rich. So, do we just dissolve the Senate, House of Representatives, the judicial branch, and have somebody like Bernie Sanders and a cabinet of people make all the decisions for the climate? I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah.
What will help is when we send all the Republicans to the re-education. Can you imagine Mitch McConnell?
Oh god, he wouldn't survive a day.
Lindsey Graham?
I like
Gulags are founded as re-education.
Right.
The first gulag that was opened, have you heard about the Bellamore Canal? People came from America to work in the Bellamore Canal for the Soviet project, for the communist project. Wow. Beautiful thing. And the gulags became a lot more political as they went on.
It was a tool. It's like a boogeyman.
You know what? We have more people in prison in this country right now than Russia did at the height of the gulag.
We do. That's a fact. Essentially.
I only learned this in college when I started studying the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was not horrible.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, for women's rights, the Soviet Union is, I think, the most progressive place to date in the world. Leave it to the Soviets to make the most badass, most effective gun in the world.
Okay. Engineering, great.
The destroyer of imperialism and colonization.
I mean, everywhere.
That's why I want to get it tattooed on me. I'll straight up get armed. I want to learn how to shoot and go train. I'm ready for the revolution, bro.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what the fallout has been from this is that all of Bernie Sanders' higher-ups in the campaign have closed their Twitter accounts because they have made literal calls to armed revolution on tape. It has been the most mass-tweeted and mass-promoted video over the last few days, and doesn't trend on Twitter because they have a leftist, globalist, internationalist bias. But they are
bigger than a new Call of Duty release.
They are in absolute free-fall collapse mode, the Bernie Sanders team. Imagine being the people that are supposed to be promoting Bernie Sanders, and all of them overnight closing their Twitter accounts. That's what the fallout has been. Massive damage control operations in America over that Project Veritas report.
Also, Al, we have to remember that I think they've sat on this for the perfect time, pre-election time, to really, really ruin him. He put in a lot of effort all this time, and now it's over. They could have caught him out a long time ago. For the sake of appearances and kindness, I suppose I can read Voodoo's comments. BitChute is owned by a guy in the UK. Headquarters are in Newbury. If they really want to compete with YouTube, I can only imagine they will bow to censorship. Well, what do you think, Al?
They've not bowed to censorship so far.
Yeah, not yet, but if they want to compete, that's the point he's making. If they want to compete on a financial and global scale, which is borderline impossible with the things in place, they would have to bow.
BitChute is a great video streaming website. They're 56% on the way to being able to do live streams on there. So I remain very optimistic that BitChute will spell the end for YouTube going into the first quarter of this century.
What I mean is, Al, imagine, say, for instance, Eminem, the elderly wigger.
Indeed.
Imagine if he hadn't gone commercial, he wouldn't be a multi-millionaire. That's the point I'm making. To reach the very limits of financial ability, you have to capitulate. So will they do that, or will they just modestly carry on and make their money from, just means?
Well, Eminem was buggered as a child.
Oh, nearly.
So, same as Justin Bieber. I'm not joking, you can look it up.
I know, but we can be done for slander, so it's all in Minecraft. It's all a laugh. We're just saying this. It's all in jest. This is a joke. It's in Minecraft. It's in Minecraft, isn't it, Al? Do me a favour, please.
Difficult favour to ask, sir, but
It's in Minecraft, Al. Just do us all a
let's
favour.
just say that Hollywood is filled with redacted who bugger children in order to climb the ranks. Provably.
Remember, Hollywood is an era. So when we say Hollywood is a disgusting, no good, perverse, cultural Marxist entity full of wrong uns, remember we're talking about an area, okay? So in that area, anything could be going on. Actually perverse. All of the people that you love to watch on TV, at least 90% of them would not have got there unless they had something to be blackmailed over. You don't give someone that amount of influence and power over the youth. You don't give someone the ability to have Hollywood, Beverly Hills mansions and to be able to send out a tweet that influences thousands of kids unless you tell them what to do. Unless you make them do things that are so evil and wicked that they can't ever dob you in. And that's from... Possibly it could be from the likes of DiCaprio all the way down to the likes of Justin Bieber. But I think we've said enough on that in the way that Alex has decided to say it.
The worst case
in Minecraft,
it was Alison Mack in Smallville being part of the Nexium sex trafficking cult with minors. That's a big one. That is still under massive investigations.
These stories are just... oil tanker big, we're not talking, and they go completely under the radar, much like Hong Kong and France yellow vests. Massive, world-changing, phenomenal things that are just going on swagging off.
There's also a Chong virus going about that's killing people on a mass scale. They've quarantined an entire city in China called Wuchong, I think, or Wuchong, where a coronavirus or some deadly disease is spreading and it's going international presently. We'll see how that progresses, but
I quarantined. I was in a gym the other day, and I had put a load of weight on something, and you have to take great big breaths when you're doing it. And the guy next to me decided to fart. I felt to quarantine that gym. You got to take big mouthful of breaths, and you got to not let the guy know next to you that you've acknowledged that he's farted. And quarantine came to my mind. I was basically just inhaling this guy's. It still bothered me for a few days, that one, because I went in and I could still smell it. 3 days later, the room still smelled of it. Ladies and gentlemen, stop breaking wind in gyms, please. I'm sick of it. Out of order. It's something that bothers you all the time, isn't it, Alex?
What's a gime?
I wouldn't even want you in the gym in case you hit your shin on something walking around. No joke.
Do you know the root word of gym, gymnasterio?
Isn't it Greek for Olympics or something?
No, it means naked. The place where you go to naked optimize your body. So when people call you a homosexual for visiting it too often, there is a grain of truth to such, sir. It originally began as such. Lots of naked gay men optimizing physical
Calling me
fitness
gay
and
online.
harming
Will
each
you
other, sir.
stop calling me gay online? This is like the 5th time you've gone into a vivid description calling me gay on this live stream.
I mean, we're here to report reality, are we not, sir?
So we've covered Project, but no, we haven't covered Project Veritas. But bear in mind, he acknowledged the fact he's a communist. So he's advocating that he knows who should be president in a democratic country, but he's an all-out communist. He was talking about Bernie Sanders running this environmentally friendly fictional government. He was advocating that he wants to get a gun and learn to fight. If at his age he's not that good, then I wouldn't bother, mate. Looking at him, I'd be impressed if he could shoot a gun without hurting his wrist, especially some named Scabby AK.
Here's another thing that came up earlier today in Parliament. There were like 3 or 4 members of Parliament complaining that Extinction Rebellion is listed as a terrorist organisation or affiliated with such. Well, the psychopaths from Extinction Rebellion lit fires in Australia that resulted in 500 million animal... It's not 500,000, by the way. I got it wrong last time. It's 500 million animals having the flesh charred from their bones in agony because Extinction Rebellion want to emotionally blackmail you into climate hysteria. Never forget this, by the way, and that our members of Parliament that are globalist filth are making an upward campaign of trying to delist them from known terrorists. Well, excuse me, is it not a terrorist activity to put to the fire and the torch 500 million fucking animals in Australia? Get a hold of yourselves, you fucking clowns in Parliament. Anyway, more wine.
Alex tends to show more sympathy towards animals than he does humans. I noticed that early on working with him.
I mean, imagine putting to the torch 500 million animals to promote climate hysteria. And then complaining that Extinction Rebellion is listed as a international terrorist group. They bloody well should be if they're going to psychopathically put to the torch 500 million animals in Australia. Provably, by the way. Provably, this is not hearsay. Over 20 people arrested for putting light for torching Australia. Extinction Rebellion activists, psychopaths, doomsday cultists, evil bastards. That will not be something that I or the audience forgets readily.
And to be honest, it's a bigger story as anything. That's a bigger story as starting a war. That's a bigger story as stealing, the crown jewels. You have borderline genocided wildlife and landscape for the sake of distracting people from Brexit and New Zealand and even the Falklands, just undermining the West with throwing this cultural Marxist environmentalist protest scheme at us. So in the process, you undermine the whole concept. They might as well be going down to the icebergs and just melting them with flamethrowers. It's the exact same thing. They're causing their own hysteria because it's not happening quick enough for them, or it's not happening at all. They're having to, but when they fabricate it, I mean that KD ratio, Alex. What was that number again? That makes
500 million animals and thousands of people with lost properties.
But ultimately, they are responsible for what we know about the largest genocide of mammals in history.
In modern history, at the very least.
I think we need to cover that properly,
I hear you.
We move on to Netflix.
Yes.
You first mentioned
Let's
the
bring
fact
this up
that
on the screen.
that Sky News documentary. What was it? Amazon that included myself and Lou in the documentary. We've still not watched that.
Once more. First kid I ever met who is a top. Whoops. Let's bring this back. Netflix features show where 10-year-old boy is referred to as a quote top. Netflix premiered a new show other than Dancing Queen, a new show co-created by drag queen RuPaul titled AJ and the Queen, where a 10-year-old accompanies a drag queen to perform in mostly gay clubs around the country. In one scene, the prepubescent child is referred to as a quote top, which means the person who penetrates during gay intercourse. We are entering peak Weimar Republic territory. Also stop funding Netflix. Anyone who gives money to Netflix is giving money to an institution, an organization that is actively putting out content to normalize and trivialize sexual
Is that a
language
picture there?
concerning children, provably.
Is that real? Is that
Yes,
person
it's
actually
real.
saying first kid I ever met called a top? So are they saying that
Who
person
is
is
a
a
top?
masculine gay?
Yes, sir.
Are they implying that that child, that the only way they'd know that is by that child having
Let me break it down to you. The term top in BDSM culture is referred to as someone who is aspiring to be a dom or dominant. The person who is a top is the person who is calling the shots during sexual intercourse. Suffice it to say, that's the actual meaning. I don't know what top means in the gay scene, okay? Because
mate. Listen. So basically, what I'm seeing here is this guy saying
let me
this
break it down
young
to you,
child.
okay? Let me break it down to you. Sexual terminology being normalized when referring to children. That, okay? That specifically.
It's not just normalised. It's not just normalised. That person is saying this child has done stuff to them for them to know that.
Oh.
This first kid they've ever met who's a top, right? And look at the graffiti in the background. You see the penis, right? Now, to say that means that he's saying that child
Jesus Christ,
has
I only
treated
noticed such. What the actual fuck?
has treated. Well, that's what I've been trying to conclude out. That he's saying that child dominates him. That's what he's saying. Netflix, cancel your Netflix. Get rid of it. Get rid of it now. Anyone who in this chat who's got it, and don't just get rid of it. Tell them why you're getting rid of it. Like I said, this time 5 years ago, you told me that was going to happen. I would have laughed it off and thought you're a complete weirdo for saying that. There it is, bright as day. You know the worst thing is, say you're in the workplace or something, and people think you're fanatical for getting angry about this. But you go, well, look at this, and they go, do you know what? I'm not interested. Just get on. You know, that's the problem. People are not interested in this. They're not bothered by this because they allow it to dictate to them their social norms. Did you guys ever look at the guy that filmed himself wetting himself and pleasuring himself in the toilets of a children's charity? No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
There's also a problem in that the whole virtue signaling victimhood culture of the whole trans movement. There are actual biologically, hormonally, people that have genuine biological gender hormonal issues that want to have nothing to do with this little trans cult that has come about, that is actively trying to brainwash children into believing that this is normal human.
I'm going to forward you an important video, right? I'm going to forward you an important video. Where have I put it? It's basically the left are now censoring transgenders that are trying to say I regret my surgery, and they're now censoring them. So I'm going to send you this video. Bear with me. I've just got to figure out which device it's on. Which, as you know, is just heart-rending because it undermines the idea that they care at all. You know, so these people, they've ruined their lives. They've basically mutilated them. They can never be right again. And all they're trying to do is give that message out to other kids. And because they imagine, like I said yesterday, you're a doctor, a person comes in that clearly needs true help, and you say to them, I know what we'll do, we'll cut your bits off. How can you bring yourself to do such a thing? Right, I might just have to forward it to you. Hang on, wait, you might just have to play it. Wait there, I'm trying to look for it now.
So this is a headline from 3 years ago. This is how far back they've been trying to normalize this perversity. Title: I have come to indoctrinate your children into my LGBTQ agenda, in brackets, and I'm not a bit sorry.
And they're not either. Oh, we'll also talk about the bishop from Oxford as well. Briefly. Just scrolling up. You can play this while we're waiting. Look at this. Look at what's going on in France, Al. So I'm going to send this to your inbox now while I look for the other one. Play this. You might have to click on my Twitter itself. But
where are you sending it?
Your inbox now. That's what's going on in France right now. All being hidden. The level of violence in France is second to none. It really is. Apart from obviously if you're in Africa macheting each other. Oh, there you are.
Let's have a gander.
Allez-y les gars, c'est bien, frappez, frappez. Vas-y, mais frappe. Allez, viens frapper, viens frapper. Allez-y les gars, c'est bien, frappez, frappez. Vas-y, mais frappe. Allez, viens frapper.
Bloody hell.
Allez-y les gars, c'est bien, frappez, frappez. Vas-y, mais frappe.
Just French military police. By the way, you know that France has half of the military on the streets each weekend because Macron has lost control of both the narrative and...
I was going to put, Alex, in that status, borderline martial law, because it is basically martial law, but I thought I'd better not, because I don't have the real details on that, and to say martial law without, you know, because you can say it in jest, but I thought I'd better not. But in my opinion, it's
Mr.
just...
Mr. or Mrs. or Miss Fanner everything. Yes, by the way, Netflix has a show called Big Mouth, by the way. Big Mouth is one of the most disgusting pedo children's cartoons that has ever been created. Guess who created it? What his ethnicity is. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. Because if I do, it's not gonna...
It's a spicy me amore.
It's a very spicy, but...
it's a very spicy me amore.
I see people who are fanatics, by the way, just posting very, very heavy red pills on this affair, and I have to constrain myself for the sake of optics. But one of these days, the noticer is going to become very, very, very mainstream, and that's all I'm going to say. It's not all of them, but it's enough of them where it's a problem.
Okay, Voodoo has just given us something in the chat. The guy, I think he's talking about the guy which was wetting himself in children's charities to please himself. The guy's called James Makings, apparently, and he works for the NSPCC children's charity. He filmed himself openly pleasuring himself in a little rubber outfit in the charity's toilets. He's a trans activist, by the way. Can you type him in, please, Alex? Can you type this guy in and see if we can bring him up, and we can maybe contact him and see why he thought that was okay. Other than that, I've just forwarded you, before we do that, I've just forwarded you a video in your inbox from Vincent Sullivan account. The video in question about the regretful transgenders, and it is upsetting. Thank you very much. Also, one of the transgenders in there, for Christ's sake, whatever you do, you know, you could make a mistake there when you see it. Him is a brunette transgender, and you just could make a mistake there if you wasn't very careful.
So the title of this is, hold on, there's NSPCC's top celeb booker filmed sex acts at Travelodge and in work toilets. The children's charity, which campaigns against pornography, has been criticized for a response to the scandal. The NSPCC has sacked a top celebrity booker who filmed himself performing sex acts at a Travelodge during a work trip and in toilets at their offices. NSPCC, which campaigns about the dangers of pornography, fired James Makings after he uploaded self-shot porn to websites and discussed his rubber fetish online. It has been attacked over its response to the scandal surrounding Mr. Makings after the Sunday Mirror revealed he had been suspended in June. Yada yada. Critics including Father Ted creator Graham Linehan claimed they were blocked by the charity on social media after raising concerns about Mr. Makings' conduct. So initially the NSPCC tried to cover this up, it appears. Graham said, "I found it very insulting and upsetting to be blocked by the NSPCC for drawing attention to an appalling lapse in safeguarding. I think they owe an apology to the many people who complained and were met with the same response." Are the NSPCC going to apologize to the people who raised concerns about James and were publicly dismissed as homophobic? The NSPCC said he was dismissed on the basis of behavior which was inconsistent with the values expected from an employee. Interesting.
Pop to your inbox, because I think this guy, people like this, they don't stop. Even if there's no such sort of thing as a sentence or rehabilitation for these people. We will have to have a look at where he's gone afterwards, because you know that they let him get away with murder. So we'll have a look at that guy after all this. But for now, can you go to your Telegram inbox and play the video that I sent you?
What, the Project Veritas video?
Sullivan, this is in your redacted account. It's the one of the transgenders saying, so it's the first guy saying basically they're not going to regret it, which is what kids see, and then who's getting censored. It shows you the videos afterwards. Yes, it has been. Alright, go to Telegram.
Alright, right, let's have a gander. Oh yes. Active censoring of those who say that they have trans hormone therapy regret. Let's have a gander. Playing it now. Hold on. Right, here we go, audience. Just a moment.
It makes sense to let the child transition because that's what the child needs in order to be happy and in order to be okay. It's not that they're gonna grow up and be adults and regret everything.
I regret transitioning.
I hate being transgender.
I genuinely regret transitioning.
I regret the surgery.
I do regret transitioning.
Right. Well, surprise, surprise. You mess with Mother Nature, and then you're sad about it. Am I supposed to feel pity?
Yes. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, Al. These people were wronged. They were lied to.
Well, here's hoping that they work against transgender agendas of removing people from the gene pool.
They were mutilated in a society where they should be looked after. It is horrific, and people are so used to horrific things that they overlook them. These are individuals that could have done with a few years therapy, if that, maybe 6 months, and things would have been different. But instead, they used them as examples, as mice to the operating theatre. Then when they dare to come back and say, they're not even saying I was manipulated. They're not even going into that detail. They're just saying I regret it. Now, you know me, I am no fan of that choice of lifestyle at all. But there's a difference. What is the point in you existing in this field if you can't sympathise and forgive those that acknowledge something is wrong?
I hear you.
It's always difficult. I mean, Voodoo's talking about Owen Jones and people. You know, there's people like James O'Brien that pop up. I mean this. If Owen Jones was to disappear for a couple of years and he came back and he exposed every organisation that had messed with him, that he'd been messing with, and he went into a deep breakdown about how he'd been lying, and he never did it again. Even though he's done so much damage to so many good people, you'd have to go, if he genuinely thought he was doing the right thing, then okay. But I don't believe he does. I believe that he knows what he's doing is insidious, backed by an insidious plan. That's why we can't forgive a lot of these lefties. Not because we're cruel, because we know they're callous. If someone's doing something for the goodness of their heart, just because they don't agree with you, so what? But when someone knows that they're doing something evil, like Antifa, that they have to hide, etc., that's a different ballgame.
It's a very convenient way of removing people from the gene pool as well, for a depopulation agenda. Effeminize men and destroy or sacrifice an entire line of genetics down the pipeline.
One of my arguments against heaven was that the only people that would be fit for it, in theory, would be people with extreme special needs, because they're the only people on earth that do things out of instinct, as opposed to they're not conniving. So if they strike you, it's because they're upset. So if someone's severely Down syndrome and they decide to strike you, it's not because they hate you, it's because they can't help making that action. Therefore, any sin they commit is truly not deliberate. Therefore, they're the only people fit for heaven, because everyone else knows they're doing wrong and does their best to hide their wrongdoing. That discussion, because there's no theists on the panel here
anyway,
to...
the most important thing that we can do moving on is inoculate people against the lies of the globalist internationalist left and their agendas. So long as people realize that their primary weapons are emotional blackmail and psychological terrorism, we'll win bigly moving into the first quarter of this here century. It'll be good. Anyway, I'm going to take a leak. I'll be back shortly.
You get back, I'm going to go for a wee, so hurry up.
Right, you are.
Okay, let me have a look at some of the stories which I've been running through. At the top. I mean, we had an interesting one here where there was an LGBT lobby trying to get Piers Morgan out of his job. And this guy winds up coming on the panel And this guy is basically fuming that peers won't acknowledge, I think it's up to 100 genders or something. Yeah, it's not a joke. I'll put the link now it's an Antifa Public Watch retweet that I'm putting in the chat now. But this guy is calling for the sacking of Piers Morgan because he won't acknowledge X amount of genders. Sorry, I do apologise. Oh, cramped up there. Feed. I'm still not quite fully recovered from this. People are dipping their testicles in soy sauce. So here's some science article. I'm not sure I'll be recovering from that anytime soon. Let me go back to my profile. This one's interesting, incredibly interesting. So, South Yorkshire police accused of letting go a man who tried to kidnap a child from a shop after stalking her, and they were released due to cultural differences. So here I have now a picture, which I will send to Alex so he can show you this on screen. Alex, I'm going to send you now a picture of a policeman, who's got someone sat in front of him who was trying to kidnap a child. But they've let them go because of, in quotes, cultural differences. So this is South Yorkshire Police. I'm just going to link this to you now. Copy link to tweets. This is a retweet of mine. But my retweet, I basically put the Google or Oxford Dictionary definition of police, which is, in caps, the civil force of state responsible for the prevention and detection of crime and maintenance of public order. So here we go. I'll put it in your Telegram right now. Brace yourself for this one. Only two genders. Michelle Obama and I can't believe and Melania Trump. Salford Lad says women are from Venus, men are from Mars, everything else is from Uranus. Thank you, Salford Lad, for that very insightful comment. Have you put that tweet on screen or what?
Where did you send it?
In place, Telegram inbox.
Right, let's have a gander. Right, this is from Rotherham, is it? Fucking hell. I'm very sad to report this man was released without charge from police custody. The reason for this was, quote, cultural differences. Jesus Christ! The police still have not learned their fucking lesson. According to South Yorkshire Police, it's a custom for his culture to be over-familiar with children as a way of saying hello. Right! Paedophilia, apologia, and the police fall for it. This needs to be... I can't even say what needs to happen. It disappoints me that the police found no reason to take statements from firstly... They didn't even take statements from firstly the security officers who first questioned this man, who stated the reason for picking my little girl up was that he was my daughter's Secondly, the independent witness who worked in EE who watched this man follow my daughter around the shop. in brackets, both who gave their names and contact numbers to the responding PC. However, no statements were taken. It may be custom culture to like to say hello to young children, but apparently it's also acceptable to stalk, separate, and try to carry off our children as well. Obviously, we as a country place fear of offending people or questioning their more obscure cultural beliefs, fucking children, above the safety of our own children. Okay. I need...
And this one's very bad. I mean, imagine you are that police officer and you let the man go.
Should we give the police office a brief call tomorrow? Ask what the hell is going on?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Listen, Alex, these individuals are stood there after learning up their trade, allowing a man who just tried to snatch a child to go. What do you think that anyone in their right mind can actually take them on? Do you think they care about justice? Do you think they're interested in what we have to say?
Regardless, exposing their thoughts and the apologia that they give is relevant, useful, important information. I'm sure there will be multiple other such cases of this, but it's really fucking bad in Rotherham. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, he's taken an oath, right? Bear in mind, he's placed people under arrest, dare I say, for shoplifting, for assaults, and he's just let someone go that tried to snatch a child. A mother has given birth. She was pregnant for 9 months. She gave birth to that child. She loves it every day. It's her world. And this man didn't give a shit. He doesn't care. So whatever's going to happen to that child is going to be horrific. He's going to snatch a year, 2 years of your life work, of your love, of your entire world, what you were raised for, what your mother gave birth to you for, to raise a child of your own. And this bloke is going to walk over and not give a shit about it. None of that goes through his head. That is a savage. And that is who West Yorkshire Police allowed to carry on shopping in the day. Not go and do 10 years inside or deportation. Let him go. You can't, it's one of those stories you can't. There's no joke about this. You can't joke about this. It's not funny. Drop a little, something in to make it a bit more light-hearted. This is horrific. How can he sleep at night? I've done things that have made my bed hard, and I struggle to sleep. How can he sleep? Irrelevant of his job, how can he go to bed when he takes his uniform off and know that he let that man go? What's going to happen to the people in the future as they let go? Who's this woman? Bear with him. If there's a couple up to, what is going on? Is that child going to be sold? What? Alex, why are you logging into your Twitter in front of everyone?
Yeah, they can't see the password, don't you worry. And I've just retweeted it. Jesus fucking Christ. Right, let's get through the news, because after this stream I need to punch a wall multiple times and drink myself into a stupor and try and forget that this story ever passed me before I start getting emotional about it. Emotional suppression protocols initiated. Further wine in the glass required immediately.
When I saw it, yeah, it I struggled to process it for quite a long time, because we're used to stories that make us angry. We don't get angry anymore. That one affected me like I hadn't got involved in the movement yet. From scratch, as if that anger that I hadn't felt in ages, of shock and awe that I hadn't felt since before the Brexit election. I've been getting it out of my system a bit and having the debates and what have you. That was a resentment I've not felt since a long time ago. I was just watching, I know that he would arrest us for what we say. or maybe, you know, if we was too aggressive somewhere, he might say public nuisance and arrest us. But he just let someone go that tried to snatch a child.
Without taking a statement, and who lied to him saying that he was the father of the child. That as well. Jesus Christ!
The copper basically looked at him, thought, oh my God, I'm dealing with a real life situation here. Out of this. That was, just imagine you're in the policeman's head, and his thought is, oh my God, this is a real crime. How do I avoid having to pursue it?
I'd better fucking cover it up.
Yes.
I want to know who that policeman is. I want to know the department that he's in. I want to know the name of his immediate superior. And we should do some actual investigative journalism concerning this, methinks, sir.
Stay calm for now, because I can imagine he's probably going to lose his job anyway from that video.
Should bloody well hope so as well.
I certainly hope so, yeah. I certainly hope so.
Anyway, do we have any further news stories to go through?
Oh, before we go too much further, I'm once again going to advertise the importance of UK street crime and go and get it. I won't bore everyone. I'll just give them a 30-second monologue why it's so important.
I'll link it. Don't worry.
Okay. It's got an attached group. There's also Western World Street Crime. And basically, UK street crime, we gather links from multiple Facebook, Twitter, our own information of gang and UK street crime in the United Kingdom. And put it all in one place for you. So you only need to scroll through this and you see basically what's going on. And it tends to undermine the trends of what people would have you believe is what you should worry about. You should worry about far-rightism. You should worry about far-right terrorists, etc. When we'll show you 10-year-old kids, 8-year-old kids being stabbed, shot in their mother's arms. We'll show you I mean, it's bloody, it's unpleasant, but this is what the UK is. I'm looking at a video right now of a man being stabbed to death in a sweet shop, much like the one that any of us go into for cigarettes or an ice cream. And this is going on day in, day out. I get multiple stories a day, not a week, a day, because when you start really looking into this gang crime, UK street crime stuff, you understand it's far worse than people know. It really is. It doesn't just affect them. It really doesn't just affect them. These are your streets. These are your kids. Many of the people are done over by association or because they're in the same school. This is going on in schools as well. I'm seeing 14, 15-year-old kids getting murder charges. You know, stuff that we thought was bad when we was a kid. We saw knifings, we saw glassings and stuff. But nowadays we're seeing young kids shooting each other quite brazenly because they want to be acknowledged as villains from a young age. So anyway, did you link the UK street crime in there, Alex?
Yes, I did.
It's an archive for you.
I've been thinking about what the overall solution to all of this is, and it's not violence, but it is political forcefulness. Okay, we need to hold Boris, the Conservatives, and any government that's in power very, very close to the fire. Okay, we need them to fear us more than the grooming gangs, not through violence, but through optics, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and UK street crime is there for you. It's your archive. So when people tell you a load of crap, you go to your archive and go, well, this is in the last few days. This is in the last week. Where's your archive? Where's your mass list of far-right terrorist attacks? And no, we are not biased, okay? Yes, majority of gang and violent crime is black, but you'll find that we are completely unbiased. We put whatever is going on. I do not put pub fights and things like that. I don't put someone arrested for, you know, I'm not interested in. We've all had scraps in pubs. We've all made mistakes. I'm not interested in when they're looking for a Wolves fan or a Luton fan over a football fight. I'm not interested in exposing these people. All right, that's just pointless grassing. What interests me is this youth murder culture that's going on with rap and drill music. But it is anti-British. It is anti-safety. And it's just being allowed to make millions an industry that makes multi-millions whilst our streets become more and more unsafe, and it's normalised on Snapchat, TikTok, all of these things, and no one's saying a word. So that's why, you know, I'm not going to post out on UK street crime. Two blokes had a punch up, police want information. So, you know, we all make mistakes, it happens. But when they're carrying machetes and cutting each other up because of postcodes, that they don't even own the council house in the postcode they're dying over, then yes, that's something we need to address. It's different.
Guess who is trying to cause what's it called? Trying to say that oh, it's all far right, racist, terrible commentary. Our archives are a bad thing. In fact, they actively promote far right hatred. Guess what was on Roanna's Twitter earlier this morning, sir?
Hang on. A hog roast.
A hog roast indeed, sir. But it baffles me. It's not only trying to undermine, diminish, and obfuscate the information. They're actively trying to attack it and destroy the lives of the people who are trying to put out this information into the public. They want people to remain asleep because their very existence is threatened on an existential level by people that archive things and then demonstrate to the public how fucked the world is in an effort to unfuck it over the next 5 to 10 years. There are certain factions that want revolutionary war and gushing blood and broken bodies in the streets yesterday in order to deal with the grooming gangs, for example, and we have to be the ones that tell them, no, don't do that, let's just pressurize the groups, etc. But every single time that I come across videos like the one that was showed earlier, it becomes more difficult for me to keep away the fanatics of the very far right the fuck away when they're calling for immediate action in order to get this dealt with. So, GCHQ, if you're watching, I'm certain that you are, do keep in mind that it is the centre-right that do a far better job of keeping the fanatics of the very far right at bay compared to you lot who are actively involved in the fanaticization of them. Getting very sick and tired of it. Deal with the issues in Britain, or we can't stop the tide or the pendulum swinging rightward. We're outgunned, and it is a problem here, you see. Keep this in mind moving forward. That's my
because
piece on
you're calling on a natural phenomenon. You really are, because most people don't have a game plan, don't have a battle plan. They will just go for the gusto, and they'll get so sick that they'll explode. We have had the good fortune of looking at things that can happen, mistakes, and planning ourselves. Most people that will just become sick of things that first involve themselves in a movement, when they see all this stuff that's very much right, they'll go, yeah, I've had enough to that point. And it's completely natural that this is being created in a country where it's illegal to, you know, enjoy who you are and your history. Just talking about, if you dare to say something like, you're a big fan of English history, you're going to trigger multiple people that now feel very much entitled because of the BBC, because of mainstream, because of their university, to say to you, whoa, hang on, you must be a racist then. That involve, you know, another subject in your subject. So you can't enjoy the Battle of Waterloo. You can't enjoy Lord Nelson. You can't enjoy where the Jack and the Union Jack came from, because that must oppress other people. Detail of our characteristics as British and English people, or Scottish people, or Welsh, or Irish and Northern Irish British, is undermined, like I said, in every fraction, every minute detail. So you're going to create people that are going to rebel. Most people don't create a strategy, don't create a battle plan, and you're going to... I think this is what's being caused, because there was no far-right hatred in the mainstream, and they need it, and they're doing their best to create it, you know, doing their very best. And I can't say that many people are wrong for what they're saying. I really can't. It's impossible to say that anyone's wrong at the moment, you know. These state Media reports 17 people are confirmed dead in Hubei province following a coronavirus outbreak.
The overall
Reports
point, though,
of a new
is
case
that
in Russia.
my overall response to the fanatics is it's a marathon, not a sprint. The ideas of the Frankfurt School have been instituted into Britain and internationally for the last 3 to 5 decades. Therefore, let's give it half that time, 2.5 decades, to unfuck Western civilization. But when I see the police letting off someone who is literally trying to kidnap a child, I can't turn around and say it's a marathon, not a sprint.
I know, Al, I know.
Be correct. I can't logically be correct turning around and telling people that are fanatics it's a marathon, not a sprint, when I see kidnappings of children and the police doing nothing. I would be wrong in telling them that they are fanatics or that it's a marathon, not a sprint in that term. Okay, I would be wrong.
Not helping. Yeah, the thing is, and that's the exact goal. They're making it harder and harder for people to come across, because no one really. Well, I'm sure there are, but very few people are as outspoken for whiteness as myself. But even myself now is seen as being too tame, and I'm the one that says we're entitled to X, Y, and Z. We're as important as anyone. We've invented X, Y, and Z. You know, I've said things that shock people. And it's getting to the point where others are saying it's not good enough, because the media, etc., needs extremism, and it's basically the biggest threat to them is the centre ground. The biggest threat to them is always the Nigel Farage types, the ones that can take the Conservatives, and they need to destroy the centre ground as much as they can, because the centre ground only exists. I mean, we're not centre. We're clearly very right. We are very right. You know, we are
centre right.
Look, I mean, let's have it right. We are overtly nationalist. We are overtly loyal to our Celtic past and our Anglo past and our white history, and we're very outspoken about that. And we believe that we are being replaced. We discuss all the things that should be discussed. But I just do sometimes feel that the media can't wait for certain terminology to become normality.
Point is, it's difficult. It's very difficult to be sane in an insane world. Admittedly, it's not an easy path to walk. One that where you know as much as you do, and you have to choose the path of not being a fanatic, despite the path of the fanatics moving the Overton window a little bit farther to the right compared to what we have. However, fanaticism overall gives ammunition to the left and is bad optics-wise. They want people to be fanatics instead of those who are centrist, who can put forward the reasoned argument as to why it's bad for Mohammedans to have an industrial-scale child-raping industry in Britain, for example.
This way,
that phrase is considered far-right, but it's not. It's entirely centrist.
This way, say you was, I don't know, a world leader was arguing with another world leader. Debating with him, he walks over and punches him in the face. So his victory, or you know, it's cheap, it looks bad, it's not good. If cleverly had a battle plan and strategically dismantled him, he would go on without that wrecked image and continue to be able to. Maybe he wanted to smack him the whole time and only didn't, because he knew it was bad war strategy, political war strategy. We've said enough on that.
Forcefulness, a degree, not violence, by the way, but forcefulness when it comes to politics needs to be attributed under the Boris government. If within 6 months' time after Brexit he's not taking very, very serious measures against the grooming gang, after what I saw today, okay, If Boris doesn't take the most immediate and important and significant steps against the grooming gangs, what the fuck is the point of Brexit when we have Mohammedans kidnapping children and the police doing fuck all about it? Like, this is going to affect me for the next few days, most likely.
Alex, but calm down, please. All the anger levels off screen, please. I appreciate because I was like that when you showed me the last one. So I appreciate
really
that,
bad.
but
it's really
I know
bad. Like, I didn't hop on this stream today, sir, hoping or thinking that I would have come across that. Okay, I had a plan for this stream, right? That put a spanner in the works. Now I'm fixated on it because it's important. We've already gone through this, but holy dear shit, it's bad. Boris, if you're listening, GCHQ, if you're listening, you have to deal with this, okay? You need to get rid of every single police officer that turned a blind eye tomorrow, yesterday, okay? No questions asked, fuck them off, let the globalist internationalist media have a hissy fit. I don't give a shit. You're having a fucking civil war on your hands if you don't get the grooming gangs under control. Simple as that, okay? There's no other way to do it.
That's a prediction.
I can't tell people it's a marathon, not a sprint, when I see things like that. When I see the police still neglecting their duty after all this time. 3 decades odd in the making. It's really bad. And then we have the police force that's been infiltrated by people that are actively covering it up, even in this day and age. Even in this day and age, they're still covering up for it. We had the Met police chief, a woman with grey hair, saying it's been happening for centuries. Oh, we don't know anything about it. You quizzling bitch.
You play it. Got it right here if you want.
Send me a link, please.
And if I send you this video, right, just sort of turn the abuse levels down because this video is really going to piss you off.
That's the one that I've seen. The one that you sent just now, I hadn't seen. Prior, like half an hour ago, I hadn't seen. But let's play that one as well for the audience. This is the one. By the way, this is the video that we're about to play, ladies and gentlemen. Is the one that compelled Mr. Classical Liberal Ultra-Centrist Mr. Sargon of Akkad into a frenzy of talking about the grooming gangs. And then we mass shared it because he did good work. Yeah?
Different video. Shush, right? Listen. This is the one where she's tackling, because you know street crime is relevant to me now. I found this where tackling violence in London is our top priority. So this is a video I'm about to send you of them tackling youth knife crime. And this is the police commissioner, whose name is relatively apt. It's Carissa Dick. And she's sat in a room with about what looks like 8 Somalian women, all in hijabs, which is all very well, but I don't understand how that's appealing to the male street crime problem. Because first of all, if you're talking to Somalian women, they would struggle intensely telling their sons what to do. It's pointless. There's a whole cultural honour thing there. It's just a male-dominated relationship in most families. So I don't understand why, if she had been seen sat with gang members, the overwhelming image of the gang members is what they couldn't show. So look at this video. Does this look like the Chief Commissioner tackling street crime? Wait there. Wait, where are you? I've got so many tabs open. Whilst you're playing this out, I'm just going to go for a Jack Dash.
Right, you are. By the way, Gary, you will find, ladies and gentlemen, that the shitfest known as the Count Dankula server is the spiciest mi amore, the spice melange of memes in the Siberia, with a C, is best found upon the Dankula server. We've got someone from the Dankula server saying that I put on a posh accent. He's being a teasing bastard, but I'll forgive him for such for now. All is well. but you'll find a lot of good, important, useful information and the spiciest memes on the face of the internet in the
I'm going to
Dangular
say
server.
this on Alex's behalf, right? I have worked with Alex for a couple of years now. We've stayed in hotels. I've seen him drunk out of his mind. If he was to put that voice on, right, it would be far more impressive than if he didn't. Because to put on a voice of someone with a better vocabulary than you, how can you practice that? How can you put on a character of someone who's better spoken than you if you don't have that vocabulary in your arsenal? So, to that I say, sir, I challenge you to put on the accent is, and then say that what he's saying is fake. Keep it up for 6 months.
Oh
Let's see.
shit, we've never come across someone with an accent such as mine. Let's dig it in, shall we? Dig it.
I love your accent now. I absolutely adore it. I really do. He's my. When I first met him, I saved him as Christopher Hitchens because he reminded me of Christopher Hitchens.
Right, where's this video, mofo?
Inbox it to you.
Where? Yeah, let's have a gander. Right, go and have your Jack Dash. I'm putting on the video now.
Yeah, that's what I'll do now. Wise move. Yeah, go on. Don't say anything too offensive.
I'll try. Right, so the title of it, the rundown of this is, this week Commissioner Cressida Dick has been talking to Londoners about how we can all work together to make our great city safer. Tackling violence in London is our top priority.
This week I've been out and about all across London with police officers and staff and members of the public, looking at how we're working together to try to reduce violence in London. I've been in the East End talking to Somali women really interested in how they can keep their families and other people's families safe. I've been in North West London at the Ark Alban Academy. The academy work really closely with the police, and we have schools officers there and all across London, working with young people, helping them think about how they can protect themselves, not just in the school, but beyond the school gate as well. And here I am on Friday at Hendon, where we have another 200 police officers passing out. New people joining us every month, hundreds. And these young and not so young officers are out there on the streets as of next week, helping to reduce violence. The Met is growing, the Met's growing stronger, and together with our public, we are continuing to make violent crime the #1 priority and to reduce it on the streets of London.
Okay, so let's get to the bottom of this, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not aware, both the police force in Britain as well as the courts are owned and influenced by Freemasons. The Freemasons of Britain must come to the conclusion that they have to increase the penalties for violent crime and for stabbings and so forth. Overnight, we have to get rid of every single judge who gives lenient sentences to those who carry out the most horrific of crimes, grooming gangs and knife crimes. It must be set as a precedent, dearest members of the Brotherhood, let's call it. If you do not take immediate steps, as well as harsher sentences, towards the kinds of people that are actively destabilizing the very fabric of the nation, then we will end up like Sweden, France, and Germany, where it is at the boiling point. If we wish to preserve this green and pleasant land, it needs to be made abundantly clear to the people that own and influence both the courts and the police service that harsher sentences must be carried out against people that do knife crimes or grooming gangs. It cannot be an issue of 2 to 4 years in prison. It has to be a decade to 2 decades or immediate deportation, as far as I'm concerned.
I think the thing is, deportation is all very well, but they're just going to. I know it's an expense to the taxpayer, but I'd rather imprison them for a while and
when
then.
we hear that police chieftain saying, giving us words of consolation. Words of consolation mean nothing whatsoever if the punishments are not enacted with reckless prejudice and harshness. So if someone is out on the streets again after knife crimes after 6 months to a year or 2 years, it's not enough. Okay? We want these people removed from society for a very, very long time. Not for a short time. Not for the sake of optics. Oh, we're jailing X amount of people and it's racist. This narrative must die a horrendous death in the marketplace of ideas, as far as I'm concerned.
Does everyone like my General Meow picture? That's what I've named myself on Discord.
Dictates the sentencing guidelines. The sentencing guidelines are directly influenced by the judge who is making the decision on the day. If the judge is a globalist internationalist who is bought and paid for, it matters not what the guidelines are. The law can be fixed such that it lets those off who are openly disturbing
I have to comment on that now. A lot of people say to me, it's okay, we can get away with this, it's legal, X, Y, and Z. And I always have to remind people, it doesn't matter what's legal, they make it up as they go along. If they don't want you to do something or don't want you somewhere, they will just make it up. That's the way it goes. There is no, oh, it's okay, it will be fine. You just ever predict that. You can never guarantee that. There's no chance.
Someone is commenting on the monarchy. The monarchy is currently undergoing a cleansing of deep state assets within it. Andrew and Harry are knee-deep in globalist deep state entrapment blackmail cabal and are thus distancing themselves from the royal family. The Queen herself, as far as I'm concerned, gets along very well with Trump and doesn't want to pay the EU $39 billion for the creation of an army. In these two regards, we need to hope that the Queen can influence the aristocracy of Britain, the lords, etc., to, at the very least all who haven't been paid off by the globalist internationalist cabal, to do the right thing for Queen and country and for the green and pleasant land in which we reside. I'm not convinced that the Queen is an entirely bad or negative actor, but the people and her family are the people involved in her family with the blackmail entrapment cabal need to be completely taken out or removed from public office, etc., which she's already done with both Andrew and Harry, both of which are despicable, horrendous stains on British history as far as I'm concerned.
I'm not a. I'm not saying I'm anti-monarchy, but I am not the pro-monarchs we have. My love for the current monarchs a long time ago. Not the monarch itself, not the...
They've only been pushed into actually dealing with the problem of the entrapment blackmail cabal because Trump is taking them out left, right, and centre in America.
And we can hate how you like, you know.
They wouldn't have done anything. They would have let both William and Harry be Savile 2.0s if Trump wasn't doing things behind the scenes and in the shadows, as far as I'm concerned. So they are liable, but when they're pushed, when there's enough forcefulness, political forcefulness, influence, dominion, and authority enacted upon them, they have to act to save their own hide. It's despicable, but it's progress nonetheless. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step of outing and dismissing and removing and stripping all authority from those who are influenced by the blackmail entrapment cabal.
Well, I think you said enough. I don't need to comment anymore.
These things take time, though. If they've had 2.5+ decades of infiltrating institutions, we need at least half that time of getting rid of them. Hence the phrase, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But do we have any other news stories to go through, or shall we leave it here, sir?
Give me a moment. I'll find one Not two more before we wrap up.
Right, you are.
This one pissed me off. These kids are going around killing ducks with slingshots, and the police are looking for them. Do have unseen footage here of the Ilford aftermath of the triple murder, but I'm not going to put that on this channel. Well, I do have something.
Overall,
I've got two things.
I think that the best way to deal with everything is forewarned is forearmed. The archives that we keep concerning everything, the most important topics of the century, join the archives, contribute to the digits, and post things in REDPILL pictures and REDPILL videos. If it's enough to get Roanna resisting hate, having her feathers ruffled in the morning, I'm certain that you would like to contribute to such by posting REDPILLs in there.
Right, I've put a video in there for us to watch just to make people smile. But first, put up the first post I put in, which is a picture, two pictures of a safari in Zimbabwe of a bunch of hyenas had basically chased what's known as a kudu, like a big antler type deer creature, into the reception and decided to kill it and eat it. So bring that up on screen. It's quite an interesting image. Go to
briefly, before we move on to that, I found just something now in the archives of TRR Al Sangmore News Panopticon. This is a guy in Britain whose name on Twitter, don't harass him, for the love of God, don't harass anyone when we showcase their Twitter profiles, etc. Okay? Just putting it out. So, this guy is called Maoist Rebel News. So you know that this person is on the very far left spectrum, but he has a brief moment of clarity and self-awareness, where he says, so there are people who are stupid enough to think that yelling, quote, kill whitey, will win over the white working class to revolution. And one of the tweets, by crass consciousness, is, you are a fascist. So among the left, right, there are certain voices who are of the Maoist perspective, right, Maoist Rebel News, saying, don't say kill whitey, right, and then someone else is saying you are a fascist for saying don't say kill whitey because you won't win over the working class. That's the state of conversation that's happening right now on the left. So in the exact same way that we're saying don't become bloody fanatics on the right, on the left, they're saying, stop yelling, kill whitey, because you won't win over the white working class, which is why you lost the election so terribly. And meanwhile, the very most far left are saying, you are a fascist, for saying, don't yell, kill whitey. That's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. That's the place. That's the discussion being had in the marketplace of ideas. Just so you know exactly where we're at in 2020. God bless Clown World 2020. Okay, what was this story, pardon?
Go to Vincent Sullivan inbox on your Telegram.
Right, what's this?
I've sent you to click on the top one first, which is a tweet of a safari lobby. Hyenas that killed this deer-type creature called a kudu in the lobby, and that's what was left as a result.
My dear God! Oh, the hyenas really tore that one up, didn't it? Bloody hell!
Yeah, bring that up on screen, yeah.
Listen, I don't like animal violence overall, but hyenas gonna do what hyenas do, am I right? But, bloody hell, they took a chunk out of the torso. Bloody hell. Like,
imagine,
they
right?
even, by the way, they're supposed
imagine
to be...
you're stood behind the counter.
They're supposed to be intestines about.
There's
right?
a guy sat there, look. Alex, look, there's a guy sat there in the bottom right. Now, is he a coroner? Is he sat there, or is he just sat there having a coffee and using phrase?
Some kind of device at the bottom right corner, like gazing into something while there's a massive carcass in the middle of the.
What would you do? Would you say you was behind that counter above the mouse, right? Would you stay there or
to clean it up? is probably
Yeah, but
his
what?
mentality.
Right. What I'm saying is, the attack's happening, right? What do? There's hyenas. Morley, you're behind the reception desk. Do you run? Do you stay there? What do you do?
Well, obviously, you fiddle around with your phone after the attack has happened and try and make sense of it all. The poor guy, though, like, it's not every day that you see such a mauling in... How the hell did this happen? Bloody... blood everywhere. Also, they ate all of the intestines, apparently. There's supposed to be intestines and entrails hanging about, but the hyenas must have been pretty hungry, I must say. Right. Drink responsibly. What are you doing saying drink responsibly?
Hang on, Alex, shush, there's a trolling accent slip. Right, once again, I've heard Alex when he's drunk, when he's tired a lot. I dare you, Scott, to go and make a video where you increase the ability of your vocabulary and your accent, and then do it. Like I said, if that's your claim, fine, do it, and we'll actually play it on our channels just to show the point you're making.
Anyway, I literally make bloody money from doing audiobooks with my voice. What? It's not a bloody... I think that this is a point that is designed to be a test from God of discipline to me. Do I contemplate and consider deeply what this twat is saying, or do I swiftly move on? So what's the next news story, sir?
This news story is at the bottom. Right, go at the bottom of the.
This one.
Yeah.
This is a good one, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, if you haven't already done so, do subscribe to the Reality Report on Twitter. We don't know how long it'll be up for. We haven't done it in the past where we've actively promoted on Twitter, but we'll see how long it lasts. And if we do get done in, we'll just make another one. But Antifa declare war, cringe 100%, because the left, will come for you, just like Jesus, I have come for you. Just in case you hadn't seen this classic gem of a leftist having a breakdown, we thought, what's he having a breakdown over? I haven't watched this, I thought this was another video.
Over Trump supporters and rightism in general. He's yeah, just play it. Just play
so
it.
Trump derangement syndrome at its finest. We need to crowdfund a psychologist, and a good one, a Jewish one, in order to deal with this kind of crankdom. So let's have a gander. 2 minutes of silence, Binzen. Let's have a gander. Let's full screen this first, right? So anti-fascist action in the top right corner. In other words, Soyim action. Let's have a gander. Right, let's turn up the volume. There we go.
It's only a matter of time before the far right and the alt-right and the Nazis and the fascists and all the other genocidal fuckwits commit enough terrible actions that the left are unified against.
So the left are not already unified against the, quote, far right. They need terrible actions of the far right to unify. Right, okay, so that's the narrative that's being peddled here, ladies and gentlemen. They're not the left, the globalist, internationalist, Soros-funded left, they're not united enough, you see. Right. Is that a picture of Corbyn in the background? Right, let's carry on.
I think someone's put that Corbyn there.
And the thing is that the left has been demoralised. The left really doesn't have much left to go for it.
The left has been demoralised? Is that why they're coming up with apps that Mr. Count Dankula put out in order to actively dox people after just snapping a single photograph? Is Apple actively censoring freedom of speech on Telegram because they're demoralised? You stupid fucking low-info ignoramus cunt. Okay, moving on swiftly.
If it comes to war, as there is indeed a quite good chance of it, then they are going to fight hard, and they are going to fight bloody, they are going to fight dirty, and they are going to win. So my advice to you, if you are alt-right, if you are fascist, if you are Nazi, if you are genocidal, if you are in any way a fan of the Trump administration, is to start undermining it, and start undermining it fast. Become very vocal about how you are undermining it. Because when the end of the Trump administration comes, you want to say that you were an ally who helped destroy the Trump administration. Because God help you if you are found to be one of those people who backed the Trump administration when the left comes for you. Because the left will come for you, one way or the other.
Well, here you heard it first, ladies and gentlemen. The left will come for us. No questions asked. Never a Trump. Hashtag resistance. Hashtag Antifa. The problem is that these ball bags have they have a lot of money on their side, a lot of propaganda influence, but they don't have a fiery soul or the influence of the silent majority, you see. So if they want to partake in the info culture war, bitch, we're already in the second great meme war. We're actively partaking in it already. When it comes, when these things happen, when the Trump administration ends, he says, 4 more years, 2 genders, 2 scoops, and 2 terms, and may the salt mining and meme economy flourish under our watchful gaze, as far as I'm concerned. But the veiled threats are very cringe. Good luck to the man. Trump derangement syndrome at its finest, as far as I'm concerned, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, Vin, shall we wrap it up here and get back to our duties?
To make sure we're not missing anything really important.
Oh yes, there's one more thing that I want to play for the audience. So this here is a guy who said that he's going to commit suicide over Brexit, right? So I'm going to play you a little video that is on the Magus Morsing YouTube channel.
I've got another one as well before we go as well. I'm putting it in your inbox now. Sorry to disturb you. Carry on. I've just sent it to you.
So this here, ladies and gentlemen, is a very short video that I made that essentially goes through "fuck off, you cunt," especially when
Alex,
the left are trying to trivialize
swearing in that fashion.
Noted,
on this
sir, but this video is designated as not suitable for children, so it is supposedly permissible, but we'll see. So, listen, on a very serious note, white male young suicide is a massive, massive issue in the West, right? It's the leading killer. It's not cancer, it's not knife crime, etc. It's suicide, right? And here we have a leftist. By the way, before we go into this video, and I'm going to say it in the video as well, do not, under any circumstances, harass the person who is already mentally unstable, further or at all. Under no circumstances harass people who are suicidal. That's a general rule. Don't fucking break it, or you're a CUN. Okay. So let's move on. Let's have a gander at this. Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I found something yesterday that ticked me off a great, great deal. So, before I read this, I want to make it abundantly clear. Don't harass the man. Don't message him. Don't harass the already mentally unstable. So, let's go through this very briefly.
Yes, Fana, I will bring that story up as well before we go. The god that Indians are worshipping as a god because it has human eyes. It doesn't have human eyes.
2 minutes of this video and then we'll carry on.
Yeah.
Don't harass the already mentally unstable. So, let's go through this very briefly. My dear, dear friends, for a number of reasons, especially Brexit, I have decided to end my life. I have taken the final overdose. I wanted to thank you. You have given me the love and friendship I had never before found on earth. I love you all and am sorry to part from you. The correct response to this is, so you're going to virtue signal by killing yourself to score anti-Brexit virtue signal sympathy milking points. Fuck off, you cunt. Trivializing suicide in order to virtue signal to your affiliates. It deserves to be hated. It deserves to be a point of disgust for anyone who takes suicide seriously. Furthermore, overall, left side don't suicide over Brexit hysteria. We all know that you're weak, effeminate, hysterical, fragile snowflakes, but the meme economy might take a hit if enough of you off yourselves. It would be a crying shame. Just kidding. God bless Darwinian natural selection. Suicide over Brexit hysteria deserves zero sympathy. You have a thing called agency, and are the product of millions of years of evolution. Act like it, you disgraceful bastards. The source of this kind of mentality is the glorification and normalization of victimhood and weakness culture among the left, coupled with obsessive virtue signaling cult behavior, as well as the media, who have their own motives and agendas. They get paid a lot of money in order to be traitors to their nations. A sublime blend of seething hatred, fury, and disgust deserve the emotions that this should be treated with. It should be remembered that they trivialize suicide to get political point scoring over Brexit. Not only it is pathetic, disgusting, it deserves to be hated and pointed out as such. Just 2 cents on the matter. But this really ticked me off, specifically because they're trivializing something that's important. Something that... Anyway, you get the gist, ladies and gentlemen. A man who tries to say that he's going to commit suicide because of Brexit deserves no sympathy. This is virtue signaling at its worst, okay? Making suicide a trivial matter in order to get virtue signaling brownie points from his cult followers. Absolutely disgusting. That is the lowest point that I have ever seen the left stoop to. I'm going to commit suicide because of Brexit. I cannot even fathom how demented these bastards are to trivialize such a thing in order to get brownie points on saying that Brexit is bad. Because of Brexit, and because we're so fanatically against it, I'm going to commit suicide, and I hope that others do so as well. Absolutely disgusting.
Alex, 2 stories. First of all, I want you to I actually spoke about this when I was on my own online yesterday. Bring up the video I just put in your Telegram from the Vincent Sullivan account, and it's the Bishop of Oxford. I forgot where he was previously a bishop. And in these times, now bear in mind, we very rarely bang on about the rape gang issue. We generalize and we're very cryptic, and I'm an anti-theist, so I use that as my angle to combat all forms of religion, especially Islam. But this character here, what interests me so heavily at the moment is the fact that at the moment there's a big outcry going on about the police covering up rape scandals. That's the trending topic. That's what should be breaking news at the minute. So at this time, you don't come out and start making excuses. Wait until it's all over, then let's hear your leftist agenda. For a bishop to stand up in the House of Lords and to not address the young girls that have had their lives ruined, and the thousands upon thousands of family members and friends that were also affected by those girls being sodomized and raped, he instead refers to the language that offends the Muslim community. Please play the video out. I am broadcasting this so heavily because in this time of the expose is the time to shut up and let the expose have its moment, okay? So just to come out and do this now is to undermine the suffering of those kids.
I had the great privilege to be the Bishop of Sheffield for 7 years during the child sexual exploitation scandals in Rotherham, and am now the Bishop of Oxford. I spent a great deal of time in Rotherham following Professor Jay's report and registered the shock across all sections.
Which will really piss people off, especially those that are deeply religious. This will really get up your nose.
Who are as deeply appalled at what has happened as the rest of the community. I remember vividly visiting some parents in a mosque in Rotherham and hearing the way their children were insulted by the rest of the community in words I will not repeat in this House. Would the Minister affirm the condemnation with which these scandals are greeted across the Muslim communities?
Affirm the condemnation with which these scandals are greeted across the Muslim communities. Those specific words are shut up whitey, get raped, don't complain about it.
Each of these towns and cities.
Jesus Christ. With institutions like these, there is no wonder that the problem is so incredibly out of hand. That was disgusting, sir. That was absolutely horrendous.
We've reshared this, Al, so we might as well run through a few more stories. Bear with me, I'll get you a couple more. I'll get us a couple more. There are some that I can't actually put on YouTube because they're too horrific. I do want to advertise this, though. Let's bring this up. This is the Proud Boys Netherlands new Twitter. And this is a wonderful flag that they got 2 police officers to hold. Bring this up on screen for us, Al. I'm going to drop this in your Telegram now. This is the F the EU flag one. And they got 2, can you imagine, police officers in Great Britain doing this? So let me scroll down. This, it will be an entertaining video for us to watch as well. Dropping you a few videos for us to watch. And this one's disgusting. This is from Antifa Public Watch, as always, they're on the ball. Of some kids sat there, basically been told to swear about Trump. Irrelevant of whatever you think, kids shouldn't be doing this. So, hang on. And here, finally, is the... Oh, no, here's the video that Alex was referring to earlier about the commissioner saying that rape has basically been part of our society for years. You know, the sort of shoulder shrug attitude. Where are you, Al? Here you are. No, there you are. Al, what are you up to at the moment? What have you clicked on?
The 3 most recent videos have been opened.
Okay, so let's start on the video of, can you see it there, the one of the redhead woman. Let's just have a moment of fanatical witchcraft leftism.
This is hilarious. This is leftist derangement syndrome at its finest. Let's get out all of the terms for the virtue signalling brownie points. Here we go.
Fuck the patriarchy. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Mike Pence. Fuck white supremacy. Fuck racism. Fuck misogyny. Fuck homophobia. Fuck transphobia. Fuck capitalism. Fuck classism. Fuck transphobia. Fuck ableism. Fuck Islamophobia. Fuck anti-Semitism. Fuck every kind of bigotry out there. I'm here in front of the White House. I am not here for polite protest because patriarchy is not polite. I am not here for quiet protest because patriarchy is not quiet. Fuck the patriarchy here in Washington, D.C. Fuck the patriarchy in Cairo, Egypt, where I'm from. Fuck the patriarchy across the world. Fuck the patriarchy in every time zone. And fuck the patriarchy in every universe.
The patriarchy. Woman has a lot of problems with the patriarchy, it appears. As if that exists. Oh my goodness. Right, so
it's not F to ISIS. It's not F to terrorists.
Yeah,
it's not F.
It's made up leftist bollocks. Things that are used for emotional blackmail and psychological terrorism. This is the children being radicalized against Trump by their parents. Right, so leftist radicalization of children at its finest is what we just saw there. And The police are very uncomfortable about their recent exposure for hiding grooming gangs. Do you feel it is disingenuous? Grooming of children has been a part of this country for centuries. It's hard to know exactly what's really going on and what's changed. So obfuscation, dismissal, and lies from this bitch. Let's carry on.
100,000 people in this country who are either would be classified as paedophiles or have an interest in children sexually and will be potentially be viewing child sexual abuse images. You know, for us, we have an ever-increasing number of referrals in relation to that, and I'm expecting to have future referrals in relation to organised or semi-organised grooming of children. But I don't think this is a sort of a phenomenon that was invented in the last few years. It really wasn't. It's been part of our society probably for centuries and centuries and centuries. It's hard to know exactly whether it's really going up and what's changing. 100 times.
Obfuscation and dismissal. This woman needs firing yesterday. This is why the problem is as bad as it is. This is the mentality of obfuscation and dismissal that results in 1.5 million plus children being trafficked and raped over the last 2 to 3 decades. This police commissioner needs firing yesterday. On a serious note. It's really quite terrible. It's so incredibly bad that even in 2020 they're still trying to obfuscate and dismiss this as an issue. Oh, it's been happening for centuries. Oh, we don't know exactly what's going on. You were told to dismiss it. You were told to obfuscate it. I wonder if she gets paid by any open society foundations or leftist organizations in order to conceal it, or to be speaking those talking points. Disgraceful! Anyway. Right.
Yeah, I was just sorry. I'm with you. I just had a ridiculous message as usual. So let me go back to some of our stories before we do bugger off. What did I do? Did I? Oh. It's over Twitter. Hang on. Sorry. Did you play the videos out?
Yes, they've all been played, sir.
Young chap here, we'll put his photo up. This chap here was caught on his way to use a gun in South London. No, we offer nothing but depressing black pills, but that's the sad state of affairs that we're living in, I'm afraid. I've got Twitter open twice.
So a half-pint gang member looking to kill people, essentially. What the hell is drill music, by the way? I've not heard this term prior.
Explain it in a minute. Okay. So, I'm getting calls that we might be needed elsewhere on a particular topic. So, let me just scroll down, and if I can't see anything that stands out, we're going to bugger off. All of these stories here are just black pill stories: crime, 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 gang crime, gang crime.
Before we let's go back to another story. So, do you remember from a few moments ago, people are dipping their testicles in soy sauce because the testicles have taste buds?
What? No, hang on. When we talked about this about an hour ago or so, you didn't mention the taste buds bit.
It's literally in the article that you read out, sir. You have the memory of a goldfish, it appears, and are a homosexual of the highest order.
Do you right? So, hang on. What do you mean when you say taste buds? Do you mean of their? This, I don't even want to finish the sentence. This is twofold. Do you mean for their partner? So,
listen,
or do you mean that?
Listen, now male testes do have taste receptors according to various sources.
Fuck. I can't cope. See, you know, a long time ago, actually, it feels like now. When I first started talking to lefties, they were so whacked out, so far away from myself, such polar opposites. I just don't know how I'd react talking to, you know, some of these guys that are straight up pro-paedophile. You know,
you mean
I've spoken to transgenders.
Persons?
Yeah, some of these people, these leftist activists, are more brazen now than ever before. Just social media that's letting us see it.
By the way, you know that Twitter actually allows right now non-violent, minor-attracted persons to be on the platform, openly talking about pedophilia on the platform. Minor-attracted persons is the new pro-pedo terminology.
Well, I was actually told in about, you know, one of the people that we've been following up, a troll. He's actually, one of the websites that he's interested in is a website of young boys that have just come of age, so they just hit 16, to be shaved, completely shaved. So obviously the whole thing is about creating a very young look. For obvious reasons.
I don't have enough wine in me for this. Anyway, right, let's get on to the next news story, sir. What is it? Never forget, ladies and gentlemen, pattern recognition is another name for racism and sexism. Never forgetty. And let's oh, for Christ's sake. So this is another article, right, from Exposing Cultural Marxism, my curated archive. From
Spicy, is it? Is it spicy me more? Hang on.
It is. What you stand to lose by not having sex with people who have HIV. Do you feel as if your life is not enriched enough because you don't have gay bum sex binsened with HIV
Alex, will you listen? Look, pretend for one moment that you are an LBC presenter and you are actually making a wage. Just pretend for 1 minute that you are part of a legal organisation that matters.
But you need to deal with the HIV stigma, Binzend. You need to have gay sex with HIV positive men.
You know what? You're just asking for people to cut you up in some sick monologue, right? Digging me out. You know the thing is,
enough material now for it. Like, go on, chop chop.
Mate. I'm getting
So,
text
shall
messages.
we actually read this article? What you, Binzen, stand to lose by not having gay sex with HIV positive men? Do you think that this article...
What am I? Tell me what I'm missing out on, Al. What
Right,
is the
let's read this article, shall we? Imagine a couple. Let's call them Todd and
Please,
Binzen.
Al,
They
please be
love
careful, man.
They
Please
love
be
one
careful.
another like crazy. Okay, I understand. They love one another like crazy, Binzend and Todd, right? And continue
What
to
are
be
you talking about? Listen to yourself.
I claim the right to say such. Another like crazy and continue to be amazed at how much they have in common. They work out together at the same gym, enjoy watching the same nerdy sci-fi and fantasy series, Goblin Slayer, that's you, on Netflix, and share a love for Japanese and Korean food. I said it! They seem to effortlessly merge their groups of friends when they get together and share the same values when it comes to working hard and building their careers. Although neither has popped the question yet, they're likely heading towards marriage somewhere down the line. They love, trust, and support each other. Oh, and the sex is mind-blowing. It helps that Todd's around 20% top and 80%... Jesus Christ! Bottom, and Carl's the opposite. They just click. They make that ridiculously cute couple that others envy. Sounds good, right? Except it never happened. Despite both thank goodness. As far as I'm concerned, thank goodness. Despite both catching each other's attention on an app, Todd and Binzend never went for that first date. They never made yada yada. See, Todd stated on his profile that he's HIV positive, and when he messaged Carl, he wasn't rude, but he simply responded, sorry, not quite what I'm looking for. And with that, a relationship that would have changed both their lives disappeared into the ether. Mr.
So
Right was pushed
distressing
right
how you're
back out
actually
of the
reading
door.
my name as a character in
A
this
few
story.
weeks ago, I wrote a story on QWERTY about an HIV positive man who finds himself often sometimes rudely rejected on apps. Rudely rejected on apps for being HIV positive. Imagine that, eh? Some of those who commented on the article appeared to feel attacked by the piece. It is insane to shame people for attempting to protect their own health, said one. Logical point. Everybody has the absolute right to make whatever decisions they want about their own sex life, period, full stop, no qualifiers, said another. Others agreed that everyone has the right to take responsibility for their sexual health, and for some, this indulges not having sex with people who they know to be HIV positive. I don't disagree that everyone should take responsibility for their own sexual health. My purpose in writing this is merely to ask you to give a thought to the
Just look at
potential
that picture.
consequences
Oh
of your particular decisions. If someone is HIV positive, knows their status, is on effective medication, and has consistently had an undetectable viral load, they cannot pass on the virus. PrEP is also widely available in the US and several other countries. So, yada yada. Well, you don't meet many of the ones during life. Actually, a survey by AARP last year found that 57% of gay men over the age of 45 are single, compared to 39% of lesbians. There are many reasons for this, and yet, of course, some will say my perfect man doesn't have HIV. Yeah, no shit. Well, I hope you're not too old before... Wait, perfect man? Right, let's carry on before this labyrinth. Well, I hope you're not too old before you realise nobody's perfect. David Hudson is a freelance contributor to QWERTY at DavidHudson_UK. Let's normalise and trivialise and actively promote gay men spreading the AIDS. Can we not? Like, alternatively, can we take a stand against this and say, no, how about we don't normalise homosexual sexual relationships that have AIDS involved? I would like to have less of the overall population, despite them being gay or straight, having HIV, and this is actively normalising it, and having to explain this is peak Clown World 2020. For fuck's sakes, need more wine. Right. What was your story, sir?
I went past it, but I will get a video for you, which is I have one which I can't put on YouTube of a guy falling from a crane in Stratford and landing on a railway track, and it's very vivid.
No,
it's far too vivid.
Mofo.
No, it's way too vivid for YouTube. But I will send you this one, which is a gas tanker in Israel, which for no reason whatsoever just blows up. So this, I mean, I'm sending it to you because just imagine you pull into a service station on, I don't know, the M1 or M25 or something, and this happens. I don't know what would have caused it. You know, that's an interesting video.
Oh, is this an explosion by
Thing there, it just goes up.
Hamas.
It just goes up.
Right, let's have
yeah.
a gander. Massive gas tanker explosion in Israel.
Yeah, for no reason, it just goes up. Well, obviously there's a reason, but I can't see what it is.
It's a pretty massive explosion. Well,
that's an interesting one for you.
Let's
check inbox and something. So they come out next week, isn't it? Yeah, they're going to, yeah.
Regardless of where they are, as far as I'm concerned. The fact that it's in Israel is secondary to the fact that it's a massive gas tanker exploding. What fun!
That's the point of the video. Yeah, that's the premise of the video. It's a gas tanker. Its geographical location wasn't privy to the conversation, relevant to the conversation. But I just sent you another one.
Let's leave it here, mofo. We've this is in what's this? Islamists in India vow to set fire to behavior, though, isn't it? Like, if we don't get what we want, we'll cause violence and disruption. And like, is this a surprise at this point?
Absolutely. Before we do go, check this. It's only a picture. Put this up on screen, and this will be our final story because it truly is disgusting. It truly is disgusting. This 16, I think he's 16. We'll read the story. 16-year-old boy was sent to prison for fiddling with an 8-month-old girl. Wasn't even a year old, this child. So that's the person. It's America.
It's from Alabama, is it?
And before you say, "Oh well, it's America," who cares? It doesn't matter. It's still a disgusting, depraved thing, which is unacceptable in Western or just human society.
Sodomized an 8-month-old girl. Ugh. What a sick cunt. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Go to the description of this video presently and subscribe to the links that are at the very top of your
go. Hang on. Fan is asking to see the goat. Hang on. A million dogs were out, oh, where's the goat? I'm just going to type it in straight to Google. Hang on. Indians shipping goats. Here we go. It should come straight up.
Indians and goats, we're not that desperate.
Yeah.
Are we? Is that where we're going?
Yeah, no, it's a good one. It's a good one. Right.
Okay, it's not what I'm thinking it is, right?
Now, okay. Now, this is the New York Post, unfortunately, but it's still showing you the goat in question. So I'm going to send you this.
Is conservative. New York Times is globalist international.
That's right, yeah. It's like the sun. That one. It's even got the sun attached to it. So there it is. This is a special request to Fana or Fana in the
Obviously,
chat.
this here deserves worship, not not anything else. This specific goat deserves worship. Mutant goat born with, quote, human face being worshipped like a god. Right, alright, India. I mean, you're a superpower now. You may as well worship gods that are representative of the superpower that is India now, eh? Video isn't loading, given away. Jesus Christ!
दांत भी दांत वास्ते ये अंडा से कौन है ये मुंडो कौन अरे अंडा को दे दिया ये बनाओ हां ये बनाओ ये भैया ने पटा वगैरह ये गंदा वगैरह पटा दी पटाओ तो कोड़ी तुम कहो नरसोई से बथरी थी
What the hell is that? Jesus. And the thing is as well, is that why is it godlike? What about it makes it godlike? It looks like it's in pain, doesn't it? It looks like what you would draw if you was drawing a brain dead goat.
On the final note of this here video, ladies and gentlemen, India superpower in 2020. God bless India. And on that note, join all of the links in the description, or you are big gay, not just normal gay, but big gay, the bins and gay, if you will. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, toodles for now. Thank you for tuning in. Till next
Take care, ladies and gents. Thank you very much. Take care.